Hi everyone, welcome to this crowdcast. I'm Vova, head of community at Smartcat, and our guest, or rather co-host, I am the co-host actually. Our host today is Una Dimitrievich. Hi Una.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm super. So our today's crowdcast is called Setting Sail. We will be talking about the first steps you should make in your freelancing career. Una has a presentation to make, and we will share it afterwards with you. But before we start, let me tell a few words how to use this crowdcast. So on the left, you have the questions and topics, or other questions and answers tab. You can vote for the questions that you find interesting. You can suggest your own. Also, there is the polls tab. I'm not sure I pronounced this correctly. Una, how do you say polls correctly?
Polls, yeah.
Polls, yeah. O is difficult for Russian speakers, you know.
It's like Polish people, it's the same, polls and polls.
Ah, polls, okay. So it's not about the Polish people, but rather about the questions that we have to use. So vote for the answers that apply to you. And also, if you are not on Smartcat yet, and if you don't know what it is, then after this webinar, click the green button under the video box, and you will find out it's a free online tool that will help you be more productive and get new orders. This is brought to you by Smartcat Academy. We already had a lot of webinars. If you haven't seen them all, you can check them out by clicking the Smartcat Academy link under the webinar title. Well, basically that's it. And having said that, Una, maybe you can also tell a few words about yourself for those who are just for the first time here, and then we can proceed to your presentation and everything.
Sure, thank you. Thanks, Vova, for hosting again. So yeah, this has been, I think, the third in our series that started being called Fully Booked in 6 months. And the idea is still, as the different webinars go on, to help translators get full-time work as quickly as possible. So the last webinar we did was about setting goals, and this is kind of going on from there. I have been a full-time translator for only about 3 years. I translated for a number of years before that, working in other sectors. And I really wanted to share with everyone the experience that I had, how I set up pretty quickly, and how people can do it too. So I translate mainly from French into English, and I work in the European policy sector, among other things, but I tend to work on a lot of European policy reports at the moment. And yeah, I really actually enjoy doing these sessions, doing something else than solid translation work, getting to meet other translators online and helping them. So that's why I'm doing these webinars with you.
Great. So then I can turn on your presentation, and we are all ears, right?
Yes, go ahead. Okay, perfect. So hopefully everyone can see this now and everyone can hear me well. Vova is going to be looking at the chat and the questions. I'm just going to be doing the presentation and talking for the time being. But do let us know if you have any comments regarding the quality or even the content of the presentation. So as I said, the last presentation we did, the last webinar, was called Your Career, Your Vision. Hopefully some of you have seen it. If you haven't, then you can, after this webinar, take a look back, because it was all about how to set your goals and how to assess your starting point before you launch yourself into a freelancing translation career. This webinar is going on from there. So in this series, in this particular webinar, we're going to look at how to get from A to B. So how to get from where you are today to where you want to be. And essentially, this is about mapping out a path for yourself, and hence setting sail on your freelancing journey. So bear with me as we start quite general and we get really specific towards the end. So if you really want the details, stay on. The first few slides are really going to provide a wider context for what we want to talk about. And then by the end, we're going to talk, well, Vova and I are going to talk together about a lot of the tools available online. Vova, the sound is a bit bad. I can grab some headphones. Would you like me to do that? I'll have to jump out for a second. Let me see. Would you like me to grab the headphones over, or is it okay? Okay. Hopefully, all right, I'm gonna keep going. You can let me know. I can always just jump out and get some headphones in the next room. All right. So let's start. First thing I wanted to talk about was identifying your business. There we go. I'm on the right slide. So what does this mean? Well, before you're going to start contacting clients in your business, you want to identify what you can offer them and how you want to project yourself. So in the last webinar, we talked a little bit about the different services you can offer as a translator. This may not only be translation, it could be other services, interpreting, editing, transcription, etc. So you need to think about whether you have experience and the knowledge to list these services. And if you're interested in offering other services, you might want to, do some development courses, look for some ways that you can develop your skills before you officially offer these to clients. So once you've identified all the services that you want to offer, what you should try and start to do is list all of the experiences that you can think of that relate to these services. And if possible, of course, get references. So by this, I mean, think about even the volunteering services that you've done in the past. If you want to be a translator, then I'm imagining you've got, some experience with languages, with translating. And for example, when I didn't have a lot of experience to start with, I decided to do some free translating for a website called Café Babel, which is actually a student-run journalism site. And when I went on there, I could translate the articles they did into the different languages that they used. I would translate into English. And then these were links that I could put on my CV that I could send to clients to show examples of my work. And of course, by listing these experiences, it's a way also of later developing your CV and really developing your pitch, because these experiences are what you always want to have at the back of your mind when you're promoting yourself and when you're trying to convince potential clients to work with you. And then in terms of identifying your business, I think quite a good tactic is to sit down and try and list 5 adjectives that describe the style of your business and your services. So this is quite a good mental exercise. These adjectives should reflect who you are and how you work. And it's important here to really be honest with yourself and spend some time thinking about this. Consider what makes you stand out. So to give you some examples, you can use adjectives like focused and reliable, or bubbly and innovative, or colorful and visual, or you can even think about using nouns. So, bridge, you connect people, or flower, you want your business to blossom, these kinds of things. And these are terms that you don't actually need to physically use anywhere in your CV and your calling cards, but it's good to have them just in mind so that whatever you do design to market your services really reflects how you want to project yourself and how you want others to see you and to see your business. And finally, you can also think about whether you want a name for a business or a tagline for your business. By all means, you can simply work with your own name, that's fine. But if you do decide to want a name for your business, you can start with these words, with these adjectives, and sort of brainstorm from there. Use them as a mind map for your ideas to blossom. So just to sum up this little slide, basically what I think is important for any freelance translators who are starting out is to have a clear idea of the services that you want to offer, which of these services you want to be your focus, and then also how you want to present your business to future clients. Okay, now identifying your path. This may seem like kind of a vague title, but actually it's something that I think of as being very grounded. Essentially, once you've identified your goal and your starting point, what you can do is to start tracing out a path between these 2 points. This is really the crux of this webinar, this particular topic. And you can think of this as a map, as a flexible map of your journey, because there's always going to be many paths that you can follow, and they're going to intersect as well at various points. So you can alter it as you go along. And when I talk about creating a map, creating a path, I really encourage you, for example, if you're a visual thinker like me, take out a whiteboard and just draw this out, literally just make a drawing of this path for yourself. But then again, you can also just take a diary, take a simple calendar, and write out a time map, a timeline for yourself, what you want to achieve and by when. So in order to do this, you need to first think about how long you intend this path to be. So you estimate a timescale. By what date do you want to be working full time? As I've been saying from the beginning, if you're going to devote yourself full time from the start to developing your freelancing business, it's possible to achieve, a full-time translation rate within about 6 months. But if, like a lot of people, you're working part-time, you have other obligations, it's natural that you're going to be devoting less time to this, and therefore you need to be realistic about what your time scale is going to be. And once you've set, your final point, your goal for when you want to be working full time, then you can even start working backwards to set the main benchmarks along the way. And now we'll talk about these benchmarks in more detail, but essentially, remember they're going to be unique to you. So the benchmarks along your path might be things like identifying and listing target sectors, target clients, target agencies, finalizing your pitch, launching your website, getting 3 references for your volunteer projects, or launching your blog, or sending out 100 CVs to 100 agencies, or completing your first job. So there are many, many, many things that you can put along this path, and it's going to be specific to you. Bear that in mind. It's going to depend on what you want to focus on in your career, what kind of targets you want, what kind of clients you want, and how you plan to market your business. And as you do this, as you start to map out your path, develop it, what I would really encourage everyone to do is play to your strengths. Again, I stress the fact that there isn't one path to success, and I'm certainly not going to pretend to draw it out for you. Essentially, just to give you some examples, if you're someone who's great at social media, then you should be focusing on that. And you can use, your social media knowledge to market your services online. If you hate doing that, but you're very sociable, then what you might want to do is list all of the relevant industry events in your area, and then go and network in person as much as possible. Or if you're someone, for example, really organized and methodical, then you can start creating Excel sheets, listing direct clients, listing translation agencies by countries, by specialization area, all sorts of things. And of course, in this journey, you might want to actively plan to develop some additional skills that you don't yet have. Marketing skills, web design, business strategy, even just personal communication skills. And it's a great opportunity to do this, but just don't rely on these skills right at the start if those aren't the skills that you already have solidly under your belt. So to sum up, again, if there's something you want to get from this slide from the last 5 minutes, is that I really encourage all people starting out in the freelancing business to map out a path so that you can clearly visualize the steps that you need to take to reach your goal. I'll stress that again because I just think it's really important. Make sure that you have a path and you clearly visualize every step along the way to reach your goal. That's what's going to help you get there. And then, don't worry if you veer off this path. If you realize, for example, that you're focusing far more on one aspect, or something is taking you a lot longer than you thought it would. But just make sure that as you go along, you realign your map so that you don't lose sight of the goal you initially had. The goal you had in terms of what clients you want, what salary you want, how much you want to be working, etc., etc. Okay, now we're going to get a bit more specific, so bear with me. As I said, your map, your path is going to be unique to you, but there are of course things that you should put on there, that everybody needs to put on there. And these are just some of the major first steps in your freelancing path. You will be adding other bullet points to make a full business plan for yourself, but in my opinion, these are some of the ones that you shouldn't be leaving out. So first of all, look into tax status and the legal status that you need to have in the country you work in. So it's possible that you may have nothing to do or that you may have lots of administration to get through. But just make sure that you do what you need to do before you start contacting clients. Because it's very possible that in order to bill them for your work, you need a business ID, you need a VAT number. Personally, it took me about, I think, a month to figure this out. So I live in France, and it's like all administration in France, a little bit complicated. There's lots of options available for freelancers, for entrepreneurs, and I had to figure out which one was the right one for me. And I spent time talking to other freelancers, you know, nothing to do with translation, but people working in design, for example. And I even contacted a career development counselor to help me understand what these different tax statuses meant and which one was the right one for me. And in the end, it was really worth it because I found something that made a lot of sense and made things much easier for myself. The second point, make a really simple website, or at the very least, a Prozee and Translators Cafe profile for yourself. So I say this because a lot of agencies are going to ask you for links to these. They'll ask you, please send us your Prozee, profile, etc. And they will look at your profile, and they will look at the activity on there. But you can also use these platforms to network, so they're not just a way to promote yourself. You can search for jobs on there, but you can also use them to ask specific questions of other translators. And I think that's a really, really useful service. And what I'm going to give you in this link, that all of you who are listening live to the session are going to get, you will get all of these slides and you'll be able to access this short guide. It wasn't written by me, it was written by another translator. I think her name is Chiara Grassilli. She basically wrote a very user-friendly short guide about people who are maybe unfamiliar with website building and giving people advice about how to build a language website. And then similarly, you should make your services available on other freelancing platforms and reference sites. Now, these are things like, there's two groups if you want. You have general ones like Upwork, for example, or People Per Hour. It's available for any freelancers. So you can put your services up on there and people can try and find you and you can bid for work and things like that. And then there are language-specific ones, so language-specific platforms like Translators Town and, of course, the Smartcat platform, where you're competing with other translators only. And I actually joined about a dozen of these when I started out, mainly because it also allowed me to make my Google reference better for my own website. So what this means is that basically when you create your website, you want to link back to it as much as possible. You want other sites to link to it in order for it to come up higher in Google when people search for you. And so when you sign up to these different platforms, you make sure that you put in a link to your own website so that people can see it and see what you do, but also so that the website itself is more visible on Google searches. And just another little point about this is that when you're first getting started, most of these platforms and services, they have a free version and a kind of paying version, augmented version. When you're starting, I don't recommend paying for any of these. You should try out the free versions and try out lots of them and put your name out there on lots of them, and then start using them, see which one you like, see which one works for you the best, and then you'll probably end up focusing on just one or two of them and developing your references there. Once you do that, you can decide whether the benefits of the memberships are worth it to you. All right, now for offline marketing, design business cards is relatively easy. I'll give you some online tools to do that in a second. But make your business cards simple. Think about the color and the style that reflects your brand. And again, think about those 5 words to describe your business that we talked about earlier. Have those in mind when you design your cards. And your CVs, make various versions of your CVs ready to send. So what do I mean by that? I mean, make them in all the languages that you use in your source and your target languages. And then you need to adapt them to the culture of your languages. So for example, when I send out French CVs, they always have my photo on them. And that's a big no-no for English language CVs. You generally do not put your photo on your CV. So the way your CV looks, the way it's organized might actually really depend in terms of the countries that you are sending it to. Make your CV as well with or without references. You can think about, I think a good idea is to have a 1-page CV, just with just the basic information about services you offer, you know, your qualifications, your past experiences, and then make another much longer, you know, complete CV where you can really expand upon what your past experiences are and explain the courses that you've completed, what you've learned, what skills you've developed, and then also include references for your past work. CVs in PDF, CVs in Word. Some agencies will ask specifically for one or the other, so it's just simple to have them already in both formats. And also, if you are thinking about focusing on or offering a few services, you might want to have different CVs that focus on different services. So for example, if you're sending out a CV to a client and an agency that's only interested in subtitling, in your subtitling services, well then you want a CV where subtitling is, you know, the main thing that you're putting forward out there. The next point, cover letters and presentations. I mean, cover letters are generally going to end up just being the body of the emails that you send out to agencies and clients. And for agencies, these cover letters are probably going to be a bit more general because you're going to be contacting many agencies if that's the route that you want to go down. And then for direct clients, for businesses that you're really specifically targeting, these letters need to be more personal. They really need to reflect your understanding of that private client and of their linguistic needs. And then you can think about other presentations, of course, that you might want to have. Newsletters, greeting cards, flyers, etc. Again, though, what I would say is do what you enjoy. So if you really like, you know, doing graphic design and designing things, then make nice greeting cards, but don't force yourself to do this. What you don't want to end up doing is creating too much marketing material that's really low quality. You don't have to use every marketing channel under the sun. Really, just at the start, at least, focus on the ones that you like using the most, or at least that you dislike the least, that's what I would say. And finally, think about whether you want to engage in social media, you know, Twitter, LinkedIn, there's lots of options. You don't have to do them all. And if you do, think about who you want to target, whether through your social media you're targeting other translators and translating companies, or whether you're targeting business sectors and direct clients who are not actually involved in the translation industry. Just a few words about marketing. This is a huge topic. It's been covered in other webinars, and I won't pretend to be the marketing expert here. I'm not. You have just a few options if you, when you're developing your marketing. What I would say is if something you don't feel up to, if you don't feel comfortable, you know, launching yourself into this whole make your own website, make your own business cards, you can absolutely consider investing by paying someone else to do it. There are many freelancing platforms out there where good designers can help you make all of this, and it can take some weight off your shoulders. But if you do want to do it yourself, and if you don't feel like it's something you can pay for right now, then take a look at all of the free online courses that are offered that are available in areas like web design or business marketing. There are many MOOCs, you know, these multi-user online courses out there. Just to give you an example, I mean, I use Coursera quite a lot, Coursera.org, I think it's a really good platform. They've got MOOCs coming up on introduction to marketing or how to create a website in a weekend. So these are just they're quite fun often. They're quite interactive courses that you can look at if you want to maybe feel a bit more confident about developing your marketing. And there's another one called Open Classrooms as well. For example, they've got a course coming up called Build Quick and Beautiful WordPress Sites. So there are many others you can find. I'm just kind of giving you a few examples. And if you do want to delve into the topic of marketing specifically for translators, then another thing I would suggest is taking a look at marketingtipsfortranslators.com. So marketingtipsfortranslators.com, it's not just a website, it's a newsletter, it's a book, and it's a podcast. So feel free to use all these resources. So to sum up, establishing your business before probably you launch and you get your clients and you start doing the core work of translating, it's about preparing your marketing material and polishing that presentation, whatever type of presentation you choose, and then make sure you get other people to proofread it before you start sending it out to potential clients. All right, now we get to the really interesting part, I think, as well. So Vova and I brainstormed a little bit and got together a bunch of ideas, useful tools. A lot of them are free, online tools that can help you to do all of these things that we've just talked about. So I have not used all of these, and neither will you. These are available out there, and some are going to be really relevant, and some you're not going to need to use. It depends on what you want. So invoicing software, for example, I do all of my invoicing on Word. I just track it myself. But if you're disorganized and you want a place that can just kind of do the tracking and the organization of the invoicing for you, there's software for that. So this is just trying to kind of give you an overview. There's more out there, of course, but these are our recommendations, our ideas to at least get you started and to make you realize that the internet is a wonderful place where you can find all sorts of help for what you need, and you'll feel a little bit less lonely and alone when you start using these tools. So business cards and postcards. I use moo.com. It's really user-friendly. It's really easy to use. There's lots more products on there that are available, stickers and letterheads and all sorts. So it's a website that can really help you also to get inspired about how you might want to market your business. CV design, canva.com. So I'm about to kind of do a nice re-update of my CV, and I'm definitely going to use this platform after reading a bunch of articles about it on translation website called Silver Tongue Translations. And so it comes highly recommended. You can do more than just CVs. This is a platform online where you can, create really beautiful presentations and graphics and all sorts. And basically, it provides you with a lot of templates, whether for free or for $1. So you can make something that really stands out from the crowd. And then if you're intimidated by the idea of making and maintaining a website, then maybe the best option for you is a one-page site. So take a look at things like card.co. Card.co is a free basic plan. You can have just one page online with the basic information about you and your services, and you can set it up quickly and have something to link to when people ask you for your website. Or about.me, it's very similar, again, a one-page site, but it has sort of other added little features that you can use to link to all of your other online presences elsewhere. And if you do want to then launch into personal blogging in your personal website, I can recommend WordPress. I've been using it for years for many different blogs and websites that I make, and it's really a platform that's intuitive and it's versatile. And if you do want to then have your own domain name, you can pay about, I think I pay about 25 euros a year for my domain name hosting, but you can also just use it for free. You'll just have a WordPress.com ending to your website. So that's up to you to decide. And Squarespace.com also comes highly recommended. I've been hearing a lot about the customizable templates and the extra support that Squarespace offers, as opposed to WordPress. But it's they have a free trial, but then Squarespace actually has a monthly fee for you to use it. It's about $11 to $17 per month. And if you do want to blog, but you don't want to sort of run your own blog and have the pressure of posting often, you can blog for other platforms. And when you do this, you can choose whether you want to target the translation community or your business sector readers. So those are the two kind of big options you have. So for example, we're just linked to a few here, the openmic.co. It's a community for translators, and it's also a social network. So people can find you on there if they're looking for translators. It's a place where you can create a translator profile and things like that. And of course, similarly, Write-Up, the Smartcat forum. You can, Bova, I'm sure, will be delighted if you decide to blog with them. You can always get in touch with him about it. And then if you want something that's much more widely read, medium.com, it's not specialized, it doesn't have, you know, topic specialization, but you can go in there and search for something like translation and see the articles that come up. And it's a really interesting platform. I've been reading a lot of things in medium.com recently. It's getting quite a lot of online attention. And then you might not realize it, but LinkedIn, if you're already using it, then you can use your own writing to reach your professional community on LinkedIn. So, for example, the link that I've put in here, you can see it's in pink because I was trying it out. It links to Vova's recent blogging activity on LinkedIn. He does this quite a lot, I don't. So maybe Vova, if you want to come in, you can probably tell us a little bit more about blogging for these platforms and the advantages of this kind of website blogging.
Yeah, I can, maybe we can even unfocus the presentation to talk a bit, maybe. Yeah, I think we have time for this. I just wanted to say that if you prefer an external blogging platform, not your own website, each of these options, let me get them back to the screen, has its own pros and cons. Maybe I can talk about each of them. So the openmic.co, if you don't know, it's like perhaps the biggest, if not the only blogging platform for translators. It is run by Dmitry Kornikhov, who devotes a lot of his time and energy into keeping it running and thriving. So check this out. Definitely, if you're a translator, I think that you must have something on the openmic.co. If not a blog, then just a profile maybe. The medium.com is the biggest, maybe the most modern blogging platform today. It has cool design and all this stuff. I don't think there's a huge translator community in there, so you may be among people from other industries, which may be for better or for worse, because if you want to reach out to your clients, it of course makes more sense to write on a platform that is not only read by translators. It depends. So if you want to increase your social capital, let's say, so among your peers first, then it makes sense to write your posts on the open mic, for instance. And you can write posts about, I don't know, some translator issues, social media for translators, something that will be interesting for your colleagues to read. But if you're writing about your target industry, let's say, so if you are a, I don't know, marketing translator and from English to Spanish, and you want to write about the Spanish market or the Latin American market, it makes sense to write it on some platform that will reach out to people not only from the translation industry. What else? Write-Up is my or Smartcat's own endeavor. I left the link in the chat. It is cool in the sense that, unlike the others, it's quite low profile for now. So you can just, if you are not sure that you can write a super great article first, you can just use it as a sandbox, write something, we will take a look, and maybe we can make it better together and publish it on the Smartcat blog. We did already this 3 times with 3 different people, and I sent it out in our newsletter. It was quite successful. So feel free to click the link and post something there. And LinkedIn is huge. It has its problems, but I would say that their blogging platform, which is called Pulse, it's one of the best in terms of design and ease of use and reaching out to people by default, because if you have connections from the industry you want to reach out to, then you will just need to publish an article and it will be automatically distributed among them. So it's very handy for you. Maybe that's it, what I can say for now.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. I'm going to include also, for like as I said, for those who are listening live, I'm going to include this link to another short guide about blogging, so again written by another translator, so you can get a bit more information, because once again, it's not my specialty, but it's certainly something that you can learn a lot more about. And then let's have a look at some of the other things on here. Invoicing software. So this kind of software online, it essentially allows you to create your invoices and then do things like track your expenses and your payments and etc. There's a few differences between these various services. So FreshBooks, it has a 30-day free trial, so it allows you to do lots of things, payments, track your projects, that kind of stuff. But then once your trial is over, it's $15 to $25 per month to use the service. Waveapps.com, it works in another model. So Waveapps works as a pay-as-you-go service. So what that means is that there's a small transaction fee for every invoice of about 1.5% to 3%. That's a fee that's actually lower than what PayPal charges for your transactions. So it might be actually quite advantageous to you if you're working with overseas clients who are going to be paying you through PayPal. And finally, Invoicely.com, they have an unlimited invoicing service, which is free. So that's pretty great. If you just want to be making your invoices, that you can use Invoicely for free. And then if you want to upgrade, there's a $9.99 basic plan. And with that plan, you can have other features like quotes and tracking expenses and doing the online card payments and that kind of stuff. Email marketing. So I've used MailChimp. I really like MailChimp. You can have up to 2,000 subscribers on there and send 12,000 emails for free, which is pretty great. At the start, I doubt you'll be doing any more than that. And then you can upgrade for about $10 a month. They have lots of additional services, e-commerce, marketing tools, all sorts. Mixmax.com, well, that's something that you told me about actually, yeah. And that you liked. You mentioned it felt kind of more natural, so I'm intrigued to hear more about that.
I can maybe delve a bit into it. So unlike MailChimp and all its analogs who send emails from their own servers, Mixmax sends emails from your own Gmail account. It has its own pros and cons. For instance, you have a limit of, I think, several hundred messages per day sent, which is perhaps, if you are a freelancer, not that much of a limit. But what's cool about it is that when you send an email from, for instance, MailChimp, people will see right away that it is a mailing, a newsletter, because according to the law, MailChimp has to insert a specific disclaimer in the footer of the message, so that says that it is basically a mass mail, and it includes your ID, your address, and all this kind of things. And with Mixmax, it's just it looks like an email from yourself. And what I wanted to say that, of course, if you want to send out a newsletter, then it's fine to use MailChimp or whatever. If you put a subscription button on your website that you want to get subscribers from, then it's fine to use MailChimp. But for instance, if you want to send out your emails to 100 agencies, you found their emails, the names of the contacts there, then what Mixmax can do is that you can upload a CSV file with your... Una is frozen a bit. Let me try to toggle her video. Una, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Your image is frozen, but maybe it's just for me. Oh, no, now you're moving. So, well, anyway, if you send out these 100 emails with Mixmax, you can actually make it look like you're sending 100 personal emails. It will include hi, first name, then it will tell something about you. Of course, it's a great topic what to write in your first cold email. In some countries, as we know from previous webinars, it's forbidden to send such cold emails. So I will not advise you to do so. But in case you do, Mixmax can be of great help here. And I can also share here a link because it's pretty pricey. It costs $29 a month for a professional plan. But
What's a non-professional plan then?
Non-professional, I think it doesn't include sequences, which is exactly the thing that you need to send mass emails. But it includes some tracking, so you can see who opens your mails and who clicks the links and all these kind of things. It costs $12, but with the professional, you can go much further. And I was in talks with their management, and they actually, I told that perhaps Mixmex is a great fit for freelance translators, and they agreed to give this special 25% discount and asked me not to share it with everyone, but just with the people that I care about. So I'm sharing it here. Mixmex Limited 25, so it will cost $22 instead of 29. You're welcome. That's it. So please go on.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so the next little point is about social media management tools. So if you do decide to go down this line and you want to tweet and Facebook and all the other fun stuff, you can use media management tools like Hootsuite or buffer.com. And what they allow you to do essentially is to automate your social media marketing. So they'll automate your content publishing. They'll actually help you find relevant content to talk about, to tweet about, and they can also help you monitor how effective your communication is, how effective your campaigns are essentially. So you can grow the number of people that follow you, that like you. You can create nice campaigns, and then basically what they want to help you to do is amplify the social reach of your brand. And it's interesting because Hootsuite has a free plan for just 3 social profiles and then basic analytics and content scheduling. So I feel like it's a good deal when you're just starting out for freelance translators. I don't think you need more than that. And buffer.com has a free plan, which is 1 social account per platform and 10 scheduled posts per profile, if I get that right. So they both have free plans that you can check out and that will be useful, but only if you really want to kind of, actually focus on this and decide that you want to be really active in terms of marketing yourself via social media. And then the other 2 little suggestions on that line came from Vova, Sniply, and Lumen 5. So I'll let you talk about those.
Okay, so Sniply is basically a thing that lets you capitalize, is it the right word? I don't know, to get benefits from content other people write. So what you can do is you can add your own call to action or a pop-up message that will pop up on the content you share. So for instance, you found an interesting article on the web, you snip it, let's call it this way, you share this snip link on your social profile, and whoever clicks it, he or she sees the article they want to see, but they also see your message, like, for instance, subscribe to my newsletter or check out my website and the link. Of course, you must try to write something that doesn't sound salesy and that sounds sincere yet funny and engaging. But it's, for instance, in my experience working in Smartcat, I snip all the links I share and I get around 4% conversion. It means that of 100 people who have look at an article I share, 4 will click further or subscribe to the newsletter or whatever. So it's really a good way to get subscribers, for instance. It is paid. I think in the lower plans it's not that expensive. And also the owners of it, I'm also telling you, it's by a huge secret, they are very negotiable. I think if you talk to them, they can give you a discount or something like this. And Lumen 5 actually comes from the same guys who made Sniply. It allows you to turn any article into a short, but not interesting, but professionally looking video. So for instance, you have an article which is called 5 main challenges working as a freelance translator, and Lumen 5 will make a video of it that will run through. I can show you one example, for instance. Let me find it right now. Which we made we had a webinar with Tanya Kintieri, and there was this this video I made after it using Lumen 5. I'm sharing it now in the chat. So you can click and see what it looks like right now or afterwards. Because video content is...
Don't click it now.
So it's just 1 minute. But anyway, I want to say that video content is very engaging, and some people say that it has 4 times the engagement of a simple compared to a simple text. But you can try it out yourself and see how it works. That's it. Sorry for taking this time and sharing this.
No, not at all. Thank you for your input. Yeah, those are tools that sound really interesting. I'm going to check them out. So let's just try and get through this. So yeah, there's just a few more things I wanted to mention that are maybe less important, but just quite interesting to look at. If you want free stock images, you know, to use on your website, on your blog, to use in any newsletters you sent out, there's many websites for stock images. These are the 2 that Vova actually suggested to me as being some of the better ones, unsplash.com and pexels.com. And then if with all this social media talk, you realize you're spending far too much time on social media, there are tools out there to actually help you avoid distraction if what you need to do is get down and just do some translating. So self-control is a tool for Mac users, and it allows you to block your own access to websites that are distracting you, even to mail servers or to basically anything on the internet. So you set a period of time that you want to block yourself out of these 4, and then you just click start, and until that time expires, you cannot access those sites. Even if you restart your computer, even if you delete the application, nothing goes. You cannot get on Facebook. And the same kind of similar thing for Windows is called cold turkey. You can look that up, and that also temporarily blocks yourself from distracting websites. And it can be anything from one website to the entire internet. And you can even, if you decide that what you should be doing is spending a bit more time with your friends and family, you can use it to lock yourself out of your computer completely. So it's pretty interesting. And then some other tools which are fun and possibly useful. If you want to give a name to your business, but you're having trouble coming up with something, there's a bunch of sort of interesting tools available. These are just some examples. You might, start looking and find even better ones. But Namium.com, it works on a 1-word suggestion. So you just give it 1 word, and then you can also target specific language audiences. You can choose what language you want to be playing around with, and it's going to give you name suggestions based on that word. And namesmith.io, it's a little bit different. With that, you put in 5 words to describe your business, which I think is interesting. You can use the 5 words even that we talked about earlier, 5 adjectives to describe your business. And then it provides you with available domain names. So it's not the same thing. It gives you available domain names, various domain names based on these 5 words. It mixes it up and lets you know what website you can get for your business. And then once you've decided on a name, what you can do is go to wordsafety.com and you check that name for unwanted meanings in 19 foreign languages. So this covers about 3.8 billion native speakers, and you check that, the word you've chosen that might be just something abstract. If you abstract syllables in your own language, it doesn't mean something terribly naughty in Portuguese, for example. And the last little thing is designing a brand logo. Again, if this is the kind of thing that you like playing around with, then there's lots available for you. You don't have to dish out a lot of money and pay a designer to design your logo. A few of the things I've looked at is logaster.com. And with this one and with free logo design as well, you play around with them and you can get a small version for free. So if it's just to use on your website, you can get a small version. And then with Logaster, you can download a higher resolution version of your logo for $9.99. And with free logo design, it's quite fun because you can choose a template and then really play around completely with shapes and colors and spacing and all of that. And again, free for your website, but as a whole, like pack, a high resolution pack, and that's $39. And the last one I mentioned here is tailorbrands.com. For them, it's always $2.99 for the logo. And the way that works is that you put in your business name and then you describe what your business is as well. And based on your description, based on those keywords, I imagine, you can choose whether you want it to make an icon-based or a name-based logo. So it's just more things to play around with. I mean, these take just a few minutes, lots of interesting tools. I think those are it. Yeah, that's my contact information. As always, I'm always happy to hear from everyone and to keep the conversation going. Vova, is there any other ones that you think we've missed out, or anything that we should add to that list?
Oh, I think the list could be endless. I think actually we need to have more webinars just about tools, because in the end, it's all about the person who uses them, but nowadays there are so many tools that you couldn't even imagine exist.
Yeah, for sure. I think, again, if there's one thing I would stress from this whole presentation is pick what's right for you. Don't think that you need to do it all. Don't think you have to have every social media account and every type of physical mailing object to send out. Just pick the things that you want to do, you feel comfortable doing, and then figure out if there are online tools that can help you to do that easily, stylishly, and in a way that really fits what you want to project with your business. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I think it's a great piece of advice, because when people all start doing the same thing, it gets overcrowded. But what we actually need to do is find a niche, both in specialization and in the ways we try to reach out to the market. Sometimes it's because sometimes I don't know if it relates to this topic, but maybe it does. I see so many translators going the same way. They join all kind of social groups and they just enter there and share the same messages about that they are awesome translators, and usually it goes nowhere, because it's not something that your client's gonna read, and even if they're gonna read, it's not that they will be touched if it's the same message for the thousandth time. So try to find something that will make people tick. Sorry, again, this hard pronunciation, but I think you must find yourself to be able to find your path. Okay, so we can get, I think, to the questions if we have any here. There were some that were not related to this webinar, and I left some comments that are probably helpful. So let's see. I haven't clicked some of the topics that we had. Maybe we can also go through them. Sorry. Creating and maintaining a website. I think you talked about that. To blog or not to blog. Do we want to talk about this a bit more now, or will we get to questions from the audience? I think let's get to questions from the audience. Crystal, I think, if I'm not mistaken, asked how large should a large CV be? So you were talking about small and large CVs, and can you be more specific here? So if a large CV, how many pages should it be? What sections should it include? Maybe some basic advice.
I mean, I have a complete CV that I don't send out to anyone. That's about 5 pages long, because it details things that I'm going to completely forget, because it puts in details. You know, I have details about what university courses I did, you know, just what volunteering project that it's very complete, because depending on what I in the future need to apply for, I can pick out the relevant information from it. And long form CV that I send maybe to agencies, I don't send CVs to actual direct clients, like companies or anything, unless for some reason they ask for it. I mean, it can depend on the context. But if I'm sending out long CVs to agencies, it's really 2-page. It just has more details about, you know, so instead of saying studied modern languages, it will be like studied modern languages, included like this course, you know, this translation course, It will be more detailed, and instead of saying I worked as this for this company, it will say my tasks were this task, that, and I'll try and bring out, the things that I did that are related to what I'm doing now, whether in terms of languages or whether just in terms of the skill set that I learned elsewhere that I applied to my freelancing career. And then references. References is something that I don't put on the one-page CV, but a lot of translation agencies ask for them. So generally, if translation agencies have an online form that asks you already to list references, then if they want a CV tagged on, I'll send them the short CV version. But if they don't have an online form, then I'll send them a more detailed CV that's generally 2 pages.
Okay, I would also say that it makes sense to list all your relevant experience, even if it's not translation related, because having subject matter expertise is very important in translation. So if you have anything to mention, whether it's work or just some interests that you have, that it makes sense to mention that.
Yeah, and I think that, for example, I did quite big translation projects as a volunteer for various reasons before I actually started working full-time as a translator. And I certainly included those at the start when I was promoting myself as a freelance translator, because they were completely relevant, and I didn't have to say, oh, by the way, I did this translation for free. It was there, it showed my work, and they didn't have to know that I did it for free. And the same goes with language-related experiences in other jobs. So I worked in jobs where, because I worked in France, the fact that I spoke English was very important, and they relied on me to proofread projects. They relied on me to interpret in certain situations with some clients. So I listed that in the context of those jobs, because I had started to work in those areas before working full-time as a translator. So yeah, definitely, that's part of listing all the relevant experience and then including it in your CV, and you'll end up with more than you think. You think that when you're just starting out, your CV is going to be empty, but it's probably not. Even if you're coming straight out of university, you've probably done stuff at university, during university, that you can mention for sure. On a one-page CV, it should be relatively easy to fill.
Yeah. Oscar asks, personal website or company website? For someone who's starting out, do you recommend creating a website using your name and last name, or come up with a company's name, even though you're the only translator starting out? What do you think?
I still function in my own name. It's personal choice. I don't think if you're just starting out, as I said, you even need to have this full complex website. If you want to do it, great, but if not, just have a prosy profile, because when you're contacting even clients, it doesn't matter if they're translation agencies or clients, you can link to just where you are on the internet, where you've listed your skills and your services and your experiences, and it need not be a developed website. It can simply be your profile on a translation forum, or one of these one-page sites that I mentioned, like about.me. I think they're great, just like little quick way, because clients aren't going to spend half an hour browsing your website. Probably they want something that's quick and easy to see, just for the relevant information that they need. I think it's good to have an online presence, but I don't think that, especially if you're just starting out, you need a full website. And I think if you have fun with the name, if you've got a cool name in mind and you want to do that, then you can promote yourself under a business name, and you can also, register yourself legally under a business name if you want. I guess you would have to, somehow survey clients or agencies, or I don't know what, to say, what do you think? Like, does this come across as less professional? But I personally don't think it does, because these people are looking to work with a person, right? They're looking for a translator with a specialized knowledge of X working into this language. And they are probably more comfortable knowing that they've got one person that they're interacting with and one person doing that work, as opposed to a hidden group of people, and they're not sure who's doing the work and if it's all going to come together correctly. So I think it's not a problem at all to work under your own name.
Yeah, I also think so. I think if you are going to work under a company name, it will put a lot of burden on what you will have to do marketing-wise, I think so. So just putting a fancy company name and not doing anything afterwards to market it will look a bit... Well, if you don't want to spend too much time first to working on marketing, I would suggest that you just have your name and surname, and I think it should work fine, because in the end, it is not the thing that will be the most important for clients. That's for sure.
Yeah. And then Tanya Martins asked this question. I don't know if you saw it in the chat, because she says she's asking I think she's asking about websites, because she says if you pay yearly, it can be pretty cheap to have a website, like $18. But is it worth it for a normal translator? Because if you're not doing fancy things like webinars and blogging, is it worth investing in it? Up to you. I mean, $20 a year, it's a pretty small investment. And if you're not sure really whether this is the career path for you, if you're testing this out, you want to see how it goes, well, it's fine. Don't pay for a website domain. As I said, have a one-page site or have a profile, and that's fine. And then if you see that your business is developing and you want a website, you want something that looks a bit more yours and personal, then $20-25, it's not a huge deal to invest for something that's your main presence online.
Yeah, I think Tanya was asking about a different thing, but anyway, I think this advice is true in this regard.
Okay.
What else do we have? By the way, there was a topic that we added focusing on the task ahead and avoiding distraction. I don't remember you talking about it, or did I just miss it?
Well, in terms of avoiding distraction, I was just mentioning the different tools that you have for Mac and the Windows Cold Turkey and all of that.
I missed this part, sorry.
Yeah, I just mentioned that briefly, but I think what I also meant by by focusing on the task ahead, it's sticking to your plan. So have your benchmarks set, and then stick to them, and don't get distracted by, oh, I need to tweet every day. Like, that's not the most important thing. If your social media account, you've decided if your social media marketing is what you're focusing on, then you might want to actually set aside specific time. You should set aside a specific time each day to do that. But don't lose sight of your goal, of what your goal is. Your goal is not to be the best translating Twitter user. Your goal is to be earning your living as a translator. So have that in mind. Don't spend too much time on trying to have this online following with translators, when in fact your aim is to work for the chemical engineering sector, and that's what you should be focusing on. That's just kind of general advice.
Yes, that's a very important one, because that's a common mistake. So I think that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. What else can we say? Una, can you wrap it up with some message?
Oh, we've actually almost stuck to the hour this time. It's great.
Yeah,
We're on
I
time.
think so.
Well done. And we've had pretty much no technical difficulties. So Voba, this is just getting better as it goes along. I'm happy.
Yes, I was in long communication with Crowdcast, so they make it better. I think they finally did. So then, thanks everyone for coming. Thank Una. Everyone, we will send you the presentation right after this in 5 minutes, and you will be able to watch the replay, I think, also right after the webinar ends. In a minute, the replay will appear here. So thanks a lot. Check out our other webinars. I also want to advertise a bit the webinar that we will have tomorrow in a bit different time with Igor Kozlov about healthy freelancing, about keeping yourself fit and staying alive while wrestling deadlines.
Yeah, I'm at my standing desk right now. This is me at my standing desk, Voba. So
wow, don't have this.
I'm working standing up. It's a great idea.
It was from Tanya, I guess, about the standing desk. Thanks, Tanya, for this advice.
Yeah.
So then, also next Thursday we will also have something. I don't know what yet, but I will make sure to tell you. And if you want to stay tuned for our following webinars, click on my nickname, which is Smartcat Academy, and click follow, so I can send updates to you Thanks for coming. Thank you, Una, and see you.
Bye.
Bye.
See you next time.
Bye.